Start with the top surface. Thin as possible. I know it's got to be thin. I know it has to be thin. Oh. You need something, because it's plastic on plastic, you need something for it to stick. I've really enjoyed building this one. It was really horrible to work on though. I don't know, everything takes longer than you think. Everything. Now underneath, what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint everything. I hope it'll just seal off a bit, because I can go back and do those do the struts later. Doesn't matter if it's not coating entirely, it just has to give it a thin coat. That's it. Okay, we'll come back to that later. So I've got a smaller brush here because I'm going to use that. To make sure I move the paint around to where it should be, because I don't want paint build up against the struts. So doing the ribs, I should finish them all. Bit of varnish, bit of brown paint. So we have the wings strutted, supported. Now what I need to do is work out the size of the figure. Not only do we have the wings, I guess that's the angle's going to be something like that. Should be able to get plenty of shine through on the wing. Looks marvellous, doesn't it? There's the wing, here's the tail plane. It was a good choice. The acetate was a good choice. The plastic packaging that I used is good. It really suits it. Get the tail plane on it. It really looks the part, so that's looking excellent. Now what I need to do is construct the figure. I've drawn out a figure. He's probably a bit too big. I wish I had the scanner and printer. He's too big. You can see the thing, you can see him. I reckon he's got to be about a third smaller than that. So I'll draw up another one. But that's how I'm going to work out, and I'm going to build my figure off that sort of drawing. So I guess the height, I need it just a bit smaller, but the posture's good. So I'll get the head in. Posture's good. So what you do is you try and add your detail, keeping things in place. You can use reference, like it really helps if you use photo reference to get these things right. Now what you do is, if that's not satisfactory, I've got the size better, I'll get rid of these things so I don't squash them. Really happy with those wings. They should be put somewhere safe. So I've revised the drawing to a slightly smaller chap. The original slightly larger, I've moved that off. And now I've started to build an armature. The armature is just made from wire, twisted together. And it's fuse wire, it's very soft. Look, best thing I can do is show you a bit of it. It's got a brass inner thing, and it's like you can just, it's not like the heavy duty wires, the galvanized steel wire, because you just can't bend it. But this stuff you can bend into all sorts of shapes. So I've started to build the armature like this. Now what'll happen is the wood, I'll put a wood casing around it, because the wood I can carve, and this time I'm going to put a lot of wood on it. So the idea is front and back panels. He's a funny little guy, but he'd be good for an animation, wouldn't he? So what you do is you clad it by putting bits of wood on him. Doesn't matter, because these are not critical, because they're going to be carved. So the idea is to get as much wood around there as possible. The armature is very important, because otherwise it's just like with our skeleton. It'd have no rigidity. Isn't he cool? It's going to be Otto. Yes, this is going to be Otto. Otto's going to be jumping from the hill with the glider. I just have to make sure that he's not too big, that he's not too gross. Yeah, here's Otto. He's sitting on his bump here. Yeah, then we're going to put in the head. Yeah. We're cladding him, and this is great because he looks like a little wingman. Look at this with those chunks of wood. But what I've decided with the last character that I carved, I didn't have enough wood to in excess. Didn't have enough to carve with, so I've actually put great big chunks on now, so I can get the shape much more readily. So I have the advantage of carving like I would with any balsa wood piece, but also having the stiffness of the armature underneath, because you need something to hold, to give it rigidity. Because as you carve the balsa down thinner and thinner, it just cracks off. So it's looking good, isn't he? So I keep sticking bits of wood on. So what I'll do now is I'll just put a bit of body filler over, and that'll be my carving surface as well, because the wood's fine for chipping out large chunks, but what I need is I need to be able to make finer shapes, and so the filler's much better for that, much better. It's unusual. As I'm doing this, I can hear a plane circling the whole time. So all you're trying to do is like put flesh on it. So I've got sort of like skin and bones and muscle with the wire. So that's one way to put flesh on it, and I'll come back with it a couple of times probably. It's a really good carving surface. It chips sometimes when you're carving it, but it's actually very good. I haven't even got his forearms on, but I thought, look, while I'm building the forearms, I might as well let this stuff dry. I'll probably knock it off as I'm dealing with it. Can you see how human that looks? It's pretty good. Here's Otto. Yeah, Otto is ready. With the plaster is all ready. We make it go. Yeah. Here's Otto. It looks like some mummy, yeah? Goodbye, Otto and some mummy. Oh, Otto is falling over from the pencil. But we're going to make him a bit smaller because we're going to carve him. You see the legs. Little Otto. Actually, I'll take the office away here. These figures are very difficult to make. I tried some different ways to do it, but it seems the only way. But he's anchored in there now. You can actually see. But I've had to actually get him to overlap some of the things. I had to cut him apart to get him to sit in there, but he's sitting quite good, quite well. That'll do well. But he's got that look about him. I'll stretch some sprue for those uprights there. It's looking good though. I'll touch up some of the bars because when I was mucking around there, I've chipped a lot of paint off those pieces, but it's, it's getting there. That's good. It's really good. Now what I need to do now is get the rudder onto the aircraft. So because see how I've got more wire than I need, just work out how much I need that. Now I can see I needed to cut off about there. It's quite long, isn't it? So I'll use the side cutters. Once again, watch this with the side cutters. What you do is put them in and clamp it. Before you cut, clamp the wire so it doesn't cut and twist, and then gently squeeze. Don't snap it, because what will happen is you'll bend the end of the wire. So that goes on both those. It's a bit too long, but it goes in there nicely. Cut off a bit more. Remember, squeeze first and then cut. Important, because this is very, very light gauge wire. Well, it's not even that the wire's a light gauge, it's also that it's copper wire. It's very, very soft, very soft. And I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to stick the wire right in his back there, so it's got a good anchor point. So what I'll do now is I'll get the needle. I've got a needle here. I'm about to paint this figure. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't do that. I'm about to paint this figure. I'll show you a basic skin tone. You need the tiniest bit of ochre. I hate this stuff because it runs out. It doesn't. Yeah, it's got no mass. Lots of white. Of course, you can't see the white. Lots of white. You notice I'm not using an eggshell palette here. I'm not going to. I'm just going to do it like this. A little informally. You need crimson. Crimson or a pink colour. Crimson rather than a dark red, a bright red. You just need a spot of it. That should do it. And you need some brown. I use a reddy brown, but you could use a darker brown if you wanted to. Burnt sienna. Now, watch this. Add some water to it. No, too much water. Mostly ochre. Ochre. That'll do. A lot of companies make a flesh colour. I always mix it myself because I can vary it. Sometimes I want it darker or lighter or what have you. I've never had any left over. It's funny with flesh paint. I've always seem to be running out of it rather than. So I guess I could mix a batch of it. But once again, sometimes my idea of the exact tone changes as I'm working, so I want it darker or lighter or. Otto, yeah, Otto is going for the flying. Poor old Otto. 2,500 flights he was making with the gliders. And one day Otto is flying and the wind makes the wind goes up and then it goes like this into a crash. Yeah, it's a stall. Not enough wind is going over the wings. Stall, and that's bad because Otto crashed and he is breaking the neck, yeah. But Otto was a legend. He was very brave and very skilled because he has made these gliders with his own hands, yeah. He's so skilled. Yeah, now we're doing the socks. We're making the socks. Oh, that's not a good colour. Oh, needs work on the skin. So here goes. I've got the tail plane on. I've just put some king posts in just to have a look. I wasn't sure whether I was going to keep them or not, but they're just made out of stretched spruce. So this is a piece of a model that's been heated under a candle and then pulled and stretched out. I needed the thinnest bit possible because I wanted to only just see it. I've just glued the tail plane in, and I wanted to show you how that goes. You can't see it now, of course. So here's Otto. Otto is waiting. We're going to put the tail plate on. I think it might be a bit heavy. Might have to work on something. This looks great. Looks much better than I thought it would look. Do I keep saying that? I'll probably keep saying that. I don't have a very high opinion of my work, I don't think. Otto. You can just see my hands, can't you? So I hold the tail plane on. See how crooked it is? You just got to be patient. I've used that words many times. That's really brilliant. That's so much fun.